Discover the miraculous fall of Jericho, a divine animation of faith, prayer, and redemption. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, under the vast sky of Canaan, the children of Israel stood poised at the threshold of destiny. Before them loomed the mighty fortress of Jericho, a city of high walls that seemed impenetrable, guarded by the fearful men who taunted the people of God. The air was thick with tension, a palpable sense of anticipation sparked by the promises of Yahweh yet tangled in the weight of their challenge. Joshua, servant of Moses and now chosen leader of Israel, summoned the warriors and leaders of the tribes. With the sun glinting off his armor, he stood before them, embodying both courage and the gravity of their mission. "Do not be afraid," he declared, echoing the promises of the Lord. "For the Lord, our God, has given you this city." Yet hidden in the depths of his heart was a flicker of doubt. How could they, mere mortals with no siege engines, breach such mighty fortifications? As evening shadows stretched across the land, Joshua sought divine counsel. Suddenly, a voice rang clear, a command with a purpose beyond their understanding: "You shall march around the city of Jericho once a day for 6 days, with 7 priests bearing trumpets before the ark." A plan so unconventional, it blurred the lines of their comprehension. Yet Joshua grasped the tenacity of faith woven through every miracle they had witnessed, from the parting of the Red Sea to the manna from heaven. Murmurs rippled through the multitude, the echo of doubt mingling with whispers of unity. "Surely, the Lord has not brought us this far only to leave us at the gates of despair," others reminded. They trusted in the shared history that had bound them, their graves of doubt overshadowed by the mighty acts of Yahweh. Together, they committed to follow the unusual strategy laid before them. The days passed, each dawn bringing renewed resolve even as they marched past the formidable walls. With each silent step, they bore the weight of their promise but also the burden of the unseen. Would the God who silenced the heavens and cracked mountains hear their cries now? On the 7th day, anticipation stirred like a whirlwind within them. Rising before dawn, Joshua led the people in an act of reverence, forming their ranks and circling the city, the priests leading with the trumpets in hand. Their footsteps were a melody of faith, resounding through the silent morning air. The people could feel the power of the moment enveloping them. Here was a sacred act of obedience woven in trust. They marched not once, not twice, but 7 times on that day, proclaiming a victory not yet visible. On the 7th lap, a charged silence fell, hearts raced as Joshua commanded a shout, and the air erupted with the roar of faith. "For the Lord has given us the city." At that instant, the ground trembled violently. The walls, once a daunting barrier, crumbled beneath the sovereign breath of the Almighty. Yet in the whirlwind of victory, the shadow of questions loomed. What of Rahab, the harlot, who had shown faith amidst the chaos? Would her life be intertwined with theirs, a beacon of hope amidst destruction? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. The echoes of faith resounded powerfully through Israel, yet amid the rubble, they were faced with a decision: would they uphold their promise to Rahab or forget her in their moment of triumph? As the dust settled, the uncertainties of God's plan unfolded, a narrative beckoning them toward deeper reflection and grace, leaving the reader thirsting for divine resolutions yet to come. As the dust settled over the fallen walls of Jericho, a profound silence enveloped the people of Israel. The roar of triumph faded into the stillness, replaced by an undercurrent of reverence and uncertainty. Joshua, knowing well the weight of the moment, pressed forward through the remnants of the once mighty city, his heart burdened with the promise made to Rahab. Among the fallen bricks lay dust, and where danger had once thrived, the Lord's chosen stood. "Go now," Joshua commanded, his voice carrying authority born of heaven, "and seek the woman who dwelt in the scarlet-threaded house." His words ignited fervor, and the men dispersed like locusts, swiftly covering the ground in search of the one who had harbored their spies. As they scoured through the wreckage, there was an energy among the people, a reminder of the faith they had exercised and the blessings bestowed. Soon enough, they found Rahab and her family huddled in the remnants of her abode, fear etched upon their faces. The crimson thread that had marked their sanctuary fluttered in the breeze, a symbol of mercy woven into the very fabric of destruction. Rahab, called one of the spies, a man named Salma, stepping forward. "The Lord has remembered your faithfulness. Come forth, you and all within your house." Their eyes met, and Rahab's heart swelled. She had chosen to trust in the God of Israel, and now she stood on the verge of deliverance. Gathering her family, Rahab stepped into the light, her demeanor shifting from one of trepidation to exhilaration. As the people of Israel watched her emerge, a surge of awe coursed through the crowd. Here was a woman redeemed from the brink, her life now intertwined with the mighty hand of God. Joshua approached, and with a measured grace, he spoke solemnly, "For your faith has saved you, and those who dwell within your household. You are now one of us." Rahab knelt, grateful tears streaming down her cheeks, understanding that her act of faith had catalyzed a profound shift. But the winds of God's purpose were not done blowing. As the sun began its descent, Joshua gathered his leaders. "We must claim this land," he declared, "and purify that which is faithful to the Lord, for Jericho is a cursed city." The people murmured in agreement, sensing the urgency of their mission. Yet a weight lingered, as they realized the danger of remaining in the shadows of iniquity. Then Joshua turned, addressing Rahab once more. "You shall dwell among us, but be warned, what is devoted to destruction must remain untouched." He gestured toward the burning remains of Jericho, a solemn reminder of the Lord's judgment. Rahab nodded, understanding the place she held within the unfolding story of God's people. It was then that an air of anticipation shifted among the warriors of Israel. The truth of the covenant lay heavy upon their hearts. The promise of a great land and a vast inheritance awaited them. With her family safeguarded, Rahab stood now not as a bystander but as part of the ragged tapestry of Israel's story. "Take heed," Joshua cautioned all, his voice rising above the encroaching twilight. "For God has called us to a holy destiny. Let us walk forward in faith, trusting in the Lord to show us the path." And as they prepared to journey deeper into the land promised to their forefathers, an echo resounded from the depths of Rahab's heart to the heavens, a divine whisper ignited with purpose. Her story was but the beginning, a thread drawn into the grand tapestry of redemption yet to unfurl. But who would recognize the full measure of God's sovereignty in this unfolding plan? What destinies would emerge from the dust of Jericho, and how would faith intertwine through generations unto the Messiah? The saga had begun, and in the hearts of many, hope blossomed amidst uncertainty. The following day promised revelation, yet what lay ahead would shake the very foundations of faith. As dawn broke over the scorched remnants of Jericho, the stillness that followed the city's fall was pierced by the cries of the Israelites, eager to move forward into the land flowing with milk and honey. Joshua, filled with the strength of the Lord, stood tall amongst the people. Each eyes flickered with determination, yet a shadow of solemnity crossed their faces as they contemplated the fate of the city they had conquered. "Brothers and sisters," Joshua proclaimed, his voice steady as the rising sun, "let our hearts be filled with gratitude for what the Lord has bestowed upon us. Jericho's walls have fallen, yet we must not forget our covenant with the Almighty. He has given us this land, but it is a land that demands our faithfulness and obedience." A great awe swept through the crowd as they listened. The elders hovered close, their spirits ignited, recalling the words spoken to Moses. "Be strong and courageous. For you shall give this people possession of the land that I swore to their fathers to give them." Joshua 1 verse 6. With those words clinging to their hearts, they prepared to embrace the breadth of God's promise in ways they had yet to fully comprehend. Yet amid the anticipation, a weighty silence fell upon Rahab. In her heart, she felt the tug of divine purpose weaving through her newfound path. As she stood alongside her family, now embraced by the faith of Israel, her thoughts drifted to the uncertainties that lay ahead. What would her role be among this people? Would her past ever be fully redeemed? The people began to gather, their excitement palpable, their minds skimming over the victories just won and those yet to come. Joshua, sensing the rise of joy intertwined with concern, took a step closer to Rahab. "You, Rahab," he said with reverence, "have become a daughter of Zion, and your story will stand as a beacon of hope, a reminder of God's mercy." The crowd murmured in agreement, and her heart beat faster, knowing that her life was now forever altered. Yet amidst the cheers, a whisper of warning seemed to shadow the festivities. Joshua had invoked the need for holiness. In our celebration, let us not forget the commands of the Lord. The devoted things of Jericho are a curse unto us if taken for our own. Any man who takes of the accursed shall bring trouble upon this camp, he urged, his regard sweeping over the assembly with great intensity. Joshua 6 verse 18. A hush fell among the multitudes, and the vibration of God's solemn command reverberated deeply. They were called to a life above reproach, a pact of fidelity woven in the fabric of their identity. Rahab nodded, the gravity of Joshua's words imprinted in her mind, recalling her own act of faith, a tangible fabric that prevented her from threads of destruction. In the days that followed, each family of Israel obeyed, moving into the lands bestowed upon them, settling into homes they did not build, caring for fields they did not plant. And with each tribute offered unto the Lord, Rahab listened in awe, aware that her life once marred by sin now echoed in praise, but what no one could see was the advent of a darker tide lurking just beyond the horizon. From the cities yet unconquered, a deep resentment brewed against the people of Israel. Each success foretold of enemies preparing for the inevitable showdown. Rahab, bound now by faith and familiarity, heard whispers of impending conflict, just as she sensed a purpose from above, intertwining her destiny with the promise of the future. Little did the people know that among their victories lay the seeds for future trials that would test their devotion. In each passing moment, the plan of the Almighty unfolded if they would remain steadfast and true, even amidst the uncertainties. And as the sun set on the horizon, casting a golden glow over the land, a voice echoed within the depths of Rahab's heart. "For of your lineage, a great Redeemer shall rise, carrying forth the legacy of faith. Will you trust in the unfolding of my plan?" Thus, with each step into the land of promise, the story of God's sovereign plan lingered in the air, awaiting its fulfillment through trials and triumphs yet unforeseen. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the Israelites labored to prepare their new settlement. Fields once barren now teemed with the potential of harvest, a tangible promise of abundance. Yet, despite the joy that enveloped them, an undercurrent of tension rippled through the camp. Rumors of the surrounding nations, filled with anger and fear of Israel's growing strength, drifted through the ranks like a shadow creeping upon the dawn. Joshua summoned the leaders of the tribes, and they gathered before him, a chorus of spirits eager yet anxious. "For now, we face our next endeavor," he spoke, holding his staff firmly. "We must be wary, for the victories the Lord has granted us shall not go unchallenged. Each of you must fortify your hearts in faith, and prepare to uphold our covenant with God." The leaders exchanged solemn glances. They recognized the truth in Joshua's words. The air was heavy with the promise of conflict. News came from the east that the kings of the Amorites and the Canaanites were conspiring. A great alliance was forming, a ferocious coalition bent on extinguishing the beacon of hope that was Israel. "It is written," Joshua continued, "we shall not fear. Our God, who comforted us at Jericho, shall fight for us again. But we must seek his counsel. We shall send spies to gather intelligence on our enemies." At this revelation, a ripple of agreement surged through the assembly. The urgency of their task lit a fire within the hearts of many. Among them was a young man named Caleb, filled with fervor and devotion. "I will go," he proclaimed boldly. "With the wisdom of the Lord, I shall find the paths of our adversaries." Caleb's words stirred a deep resolve within the people. They knew that faith did not merely ebb and flow with circumstances, it was forged in action and obedience to the Almighty. They gathered fervently in prayer, seeking the guidance of the Lord, appealing for strength against the rising foe. Meanwhile, Rahab, settled in her new life yet still anchored by purpose, caught the whispers of Caleb's mission. Her heart quickened. She understood the gravity of their situation more than most. "What can I do?" she pondered, recalling the words of Joshua that resonated within her spirit. Her life, once cloaked in scandal, had brandished her as an outcast, yet she was now woven into the very fabric of Israel's hope. With fervent determination, Rahab approached the leaders and offered her unique insight. "I have known the fear of Jericho, I understand the heart of our enemies." Joshua regarded her with respect. "Daughter of Zion, your counsel is sought, for you have known both despair and deliverance. Go, hide them, and protect them, for their lives may well contribute to the preservation of our people." As Rahab helped Caleb and the other spies find refuge, she felt an unshakable assurance settle within her. God had spared her for a purpose, that her life would intertwine with the deliverance of many. With each passing moment, she recognized an intertwining thread of destiny stretching toward redemption and rescue. Meanwhile, far from their encampment, the kings of Canaan convened in their treacherous alliance. Dark hearts plotted deep. "The Israelite men will falter if we strike swiftly before they grow in strength," one king proclaimed, his voice laden with malice. "We must crush them before their courage blossoms." Their voices raised in fervent agreement, the air grew thick with momentum for impending strife. They resolved, with wrathful conviction, to march against the encamped Israelites that in the gathering dusk, as shadows lengthened, Rahab stood on her roof, her soul caught in the tension of divine purpose. "O Lord, guide our steps!" she cried out. A fleeting chill passed over her, and she sensed the gravity of the battles yet to come. Little did she know, your lineage was the catalyst for a redemption far greater than her own, a promise awaited fulfillment through trials descending upon God's people. And so, beneath the starry skies, the drama of God's sovereign plan was poised on the brink of unfolding, whispering the truth of his relentless grace. What awaited as hearts prepared for war, now intertwined with the destiny of one woman's faith? As dawn broke, the silence of the early morning light filled the camp of the Israelites, casting long shadows across the earth, mirroring the weight of their impending challenges. Joshua, steeped in prayer and vigilant for the Lord's guidance, called upon Caleb and after a careful night of strategy, turned to the assembled tribes with a renewed determination in his voice. "Prepare yourselves, for today we uncover the might of our Lord," he proclaimed with a fervor that resonated deep within the hearts of his people. "We shall send our spies into the heart of our enemies, seeking truth that shall be protectors of our home." As Caleb departed on his mission, Rahab remained acutely aware of the ominous clouds gathering above, not just in the sky, but over the fate of her people. She clung to the thread of hope that God had not only led her out of her past but entwined her life with his greater purpose, that in the secret recesses of her home, she pondered the fate of the Israelites and the harbingers of their destruction. The stories she heard as a child whispered through her thoughts, how the God of Israel parted the sea, hurled down walls, and brought down kings. "O Lord," she whispered, "may your strength surround us now as it did for our forefathers." Meanwhile, within the chambers of a fortified city, ambition flashed among the kings of Canaan. "Let us move swiftly. Today, we shall not falter," one of them bellowed, while others nodded with malevolent agreement, their plans steeped in darkness. "We shall scatter them like chaff in the wind." Yet God had woven his design for Israel within the very fabric of their unfolding trials. As Caleb traversed the land, following the winding paths and hidden routes shared by Rahab, the presence of God cloaked him like armor. With careful deliberation, Caleb and the spies navigated past guards and watchful eyes from the very walls that Rahab had once considered impenetrable. In moments of hesitation, Caleb felt the weight of the covenant promise from God, "Fear not, for I am with you." He remembered the reports of giants in the land. Fleshly manifestations of fear but unwavering faith gripped his heart as fortified walls stood before him. After gathering crucial information, he returned to Rahab, whose own heart pounded in rhythm with the urgency of their mission. "Sister," he announced gravely, "we will forge our course with courage as led by the Lord. Your life will be our symbol, a beacon of hope for those who will follow." "Then let my household be spared," Rahab implored, her eyes bright with conviction. "When the day of reckoning comes, let us bind this scarlet cord in the window, a mark of faith and trust in our God." Among the gathered, a hushed reverence took hold, acknowledging the covenant of their steps forward, reminiscent of the earlier parts of their journey through the Red Sea. The air thickened with anticipation, not for just a battle, but for a miraculous display of divine power to unfold. As the sun set on that fateful day, the kings conspired in darkened corners, unaware of the impending transformation wrought by the hands of God. With Rahab's faith as the cornerstone, and Caleb's courage as the sword, the Israelites stirred towards the battle night, arms raised in prayer and hearts aligned to the promise of God. Across the land, a symphony of faith began to rise to the heavens, a whisper of forthcoming glory igniting hearts unknown to their destiny. What they did not know was that the very walls they would storm would soon resound with the echoes of reverence to a God who abides eternally, even as the dusk crept forward, for these walls would fall, enchanted by his presence and the faith that led the way. In that watchful night, as preparations finished and spirits surged, a promise loomed larger than their fears. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. And thus began the unfolding of his sovereign design, graced with a faith that would not wane. The heavens shifted as night settled over the land, and the stars blinked down, their light a silent witness to the events set to unfold. In the encampment, the Israelites gathered, each heart thrumming with a mixture of fear and faith. Joshua, the appointed leader, stood firm among the people, his mind a tumult of thoughts, yet anchored by the promises of their God. "People of Israel, look upon the horizon," he called out, his voice a clarion amidst the rising tension. "For the Lord has gone before us. This day will testify to his power, and we shall witness the might of our God." Silence fell over the group, the weight of anticipation pressing down as they remembered the stories of their ancestors, how their God had vanquished foes and parted waters, leading them through trials that seemed insurmountable. As they listened, faith began to stir, ignited by a hope that had been seated deep within their spirits, echoing the words of Moses at the Red Sea, "The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent." Exodus 14 verse 14. As dawn approached, Joshua rallied his captains and spoke the words of the Lord that had been revealed to him: "March around the city. All the men of war shall go around the city once a day for 6 days. And on the 7th day, ye shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow trumpets." Joshua 6 verses 3-4. With solemnity, the commands were given, and obedience wrapped the people like an unbreakable chain. As night turned to day, they walked the outer walls of Jericho, a synchrony of faith embodied in their footsteps. The priests carried the Ark of the Covenant, borne on sturdy shoulders that felt the sacred weight of God's presence. And the shadows, Rahab, her household protected by the scarlet cord that hung from her window, gazed in awe. She felt an electric anticipation as she whispered fervent prayers, trusting in the God of the Israelites whom she had come to know and embrace. "O Lord," she prayed with conviction, "let your promise to me be fulfilled, let salvation come to my family." On the 7th day, the sun rose with an unusual brilliance, illuminating the gathering forces of Israel. They marched with purpose, their hearts beating in rhythm with God's design. As they encircled Jericho, their voices rose in praise, an unyielding declaration of God's sovereignty. They followed Joshua's orders, their sure steps pulsating with faith, while the walls of Jericho loomed like giants before them. With the sound of the last trumpet blowing, Joshua shouted, "For the Lord has given you the city." Joshua 6 verse 16. The earth trembled at the chorus of their voices raised in unison, and in that divine moment, a sound like a roaring tide filled the air. The walls of Jericho, mighty and unyielding, began to shudder, quaking beneath the weight of faith and obedience. As the walls fell, a profound silence enveloped the battlefield, interrupted only by the cries of victory from the Israelites. It echoed through the valley, a sound of triumph bestowed upon those who dared to trust in the unseen. Amidst the chaos and celebration, Rahab watched with breathless wonder, her heart swelling as the promise of deliverance unfolded before her eyes. God had orchestrated every detail, redeeming her from her past and securing a future woven within his covenant. Yet, as the dust settled around the crumbled stones, a question lingered: in witnessing such a great miracle, what further plans did God hold for his chosen people? The Israelite camp stood in awe, not just at the fallen walls, but at the boundless possibilities of his grace. For the next chapter awaited, where the implications of their conquest would unfurl with divine significance, beckoning them deeper into the heart of God's unfolding plan. As the dust of Jericho settled, the air thick with the scent of victory, Joshua surveyed the panorama of their triumph. The shattered stones lay scattered like a broken promise of the past, yet each fragment testified to the faithfulness of God. The Israelites, brimming with exhilaration, rejoiced in the Lord, their voices lifting in a chorus of thanksgiving, for the Lord is good, his steadfast love endures forever. Psalm 136 verse 1, Yet amidst the jubilation, Joshua turned his gaze upon the scarlet cord that glimmered in the light, a solemn reminder of the salvation promised to Rahab. He called for the 2 spies who had been sent to scout the city, saying, Go now to Rahab, and bring her and all her household to safety, as you have sworn to her. Joshua 6 verse 22. The spies obeyed, their feet firm upon the once impregnable land now yielded by God's mighty hand. As they entered Rahab's dwelling, she embraced them with gratitude, her heart overflowing with praises for the God who had spared her. Truly, your God is the God of heaven above and on the earth beneath, she declared, her eyes alight with faith. Her family gathered, encircled by the scarlet cord, a living emblem of hope. She understood that she was now part of something greater, a web of divine strategy stretching across generations. Meanwhile, the children of Israel basked in the glory of their victory, each warrior's heart swelling with pride and tentative hope. Yet somewhere in the silence following Jericho's collapse, a whisper of unease began to flutter. Joshua, sensing the gravity of their ascent into Canaan, called the leaders again together. Brothers, he began, his voice steady yet edged with urgency. This victory is but a beginning. We must remain ever vigilant, for the Lord's charge is both a promise and a command. We are now his instruments in this land. Before the sun slipped beneath the horizon, he set them on a path of remembrance, commanding the gathering, Let us make a memorial of stones from this place, lest we forget how the Lord fought for us. Joshua 4 verse 7. They obeyed, and the stones rose high, a testament not only of their victory but of the enduring presence of their God among them. That evening, as the camp settled, the elders of Israel whispered among themselves, eager to comprehend God's full plan. What lies ahead? One elder murmured. Shall we face further giants? Or will our hearts falter at the sight of fortified cities like Jericho? Amidst their questions, God stirred the heart of Joshua. In the night, he sought the Lord, falling to his knees, imploring direction. O Lord, guide us. What next shall we face? And the Lord spoke to him, the words like thunder in the stillness, I have given you this land, yet many challenges await. Prepare your hearts and the hearts of your people for the battles that are yet to come. Joshua 1 verse 6, with dawn's light, a new chapter unfolded, the united tribes, emboldened by faith, gearing themselves for the conquest of Canaan. The promise of their God beckoned them further into the unknown, where victory would demand steadfast courage, unyielding faith, and an unwavering trust in his covenant. And as they stood on the verge of their destiny, they pondered the ways of the Lord. What would their hearts unveil in the face of coming trials? For the path seemed fraught with both blessing and burden, as God's sovereign plan was yet to reveal the depth of his purpose. Would they stand firm, or would they falter when faced with new giants? As the first light of dawn bathed the camp in golden hues, Joshua gathered the people before him. Hear me, O Israel! He proclaimed, his voice ringing with authority. The Lord our God has commanded us to continue our march. The land before us is rife with blessings, yet it is upon us to claim it with faith and valor. There was a murmuring among the tribes, a blend of eagerness and trepidation. Each heart remembered the might of Jericho and the palpable fear coursing through them as the towering walls fell. What shall we face next? Came a voice from the crowd, echoing the anxieties held in every breast. Indeed, replied Joshua, the way ahead is not without trials. Yet let us not forget the power of our God. We will march to Ai, for it lies just beyond Jericho. The Lord said, I will deliver it into your hand. Joshua 8 verse 1. Therefore, arise and prepare. With hearts ignited, they readied themselves for the journey, their spirits bolstered by the remembrance of God's past deliverance. The trumpets were readied, swords sharpened, and provisions gathered. But as they approached Ai, nestled upon a rocky hill, they halted, sensing an ominous silence that cloaked the land. We must be wise as we enter this place, Joshua instructed, for the inhabitants of Ai are fierce and confident. Let us scout their defenses, for knowledge is a weapon as powerful as the sword. The leaders dispatched spies to survey the strength of Ai, a wave of anxious anticipation rippling through the tribes as they awaited the report. When the spies returned, they bore tidings that troubled their hearts. The people of Ai are few, and their walls are low compared to Jericho, one of the spies said, but they possess courage, and their warriors are skilled. Let us send only a small force, suggested another. For what strength needs us to take this insignificant city? Joshua listened carefully, the weight of their experiences weighing heavily upon him. He pondered the implications of such a decision amid the proud spirits of victory. No, he declared, resolute. If we take them lightly, we will invite the wrath of the Lord upon us. We must not grow complacent after our triumph. And that night, he sought the Lord once more. Beneath the vast expanse of stars, he cried out in earnest prayer. O Lord, do not forsake this your people. We have witnessed your strength, yet my heart fears our pride will lead us to our ruin. Speak, O God, and reveal your will. In the stillness, God's presence enveloped him, and the voice of the Lord pierced through the shadows. Israel has sinned, there are accursed things among them, Joshua 7 verse 11. Joshua trembled. A deep understanding of divine justice filled him, and he knew that unconfessed sin would bring forth calamity upon the nation. With renewed urgency, he gathered the leaders. We must cleanse our hearts and our camp. He commanded. Who among us has transgressed the covenant of the Lord? We must rectify this, lest we face defeat, as one cannot stand against the enemy with unconfessed sin. The sound of unsettled murmurs rose, interspersed with confessions, instigated by the truth. Within the trembling hearts of the Israelites flowed both dread and anticipation. Would they heed the warning and seek holiness? The day wore on, heavy with the weight of unspoken burdens, as the tribes gathered to confront their sins under the light of God's revelation. The covenant aglow with promise and warning, a formidable reminder of their identity as a chosen people. And as the hour drew near to declare the matter, a dread foreboding filled the air, for the heart of God's people must yet be tested. Would they choose the path of righteousness, leading them closer to the fulfilling of his sovereign plan? Or would their transgressions rise up to meet them in battle, once again placing their faith in peril? The sun climbed high above the encampment, casting long shadows upon the restless crowd. The air brimmed with tension as the Israelite tribes convened, their hearts heavy with the weight of unconfessed sin. Joshua stood amidst them, his eyes scanning the sea of anxious faces, for he sensed the gravity of the moment. Gather close, he beckoned, his voice steady yet filled with urgency. For the Lord has revealed the truth that lies beneath our strife. We have transgressed his covenant, and it is this breach that threatens our strength. As his word settled over them, silence enveloped the assembly, a silence thick with conviction and fear. Whispers of uncertainty mingled with the rustling of garments, as each soul grappled with the awareness of hidden darkness within. Who has brought this curse upon us? Cried out a voice from the rear. Who among us has defiled our covenant with God? The question reverberated through the throng, stirring a sense of dread and anticipation alike. Taking a deep breath, Joshua called forth the heads of the tribes, urging them to step forward. The Lord will reveal the transgressor by the casting of lots, he declared. We will seek his face, allowing his judgment to guide us. They gathered together, hearts pounding, as the lot was cast amongst the tribes. Each tribe was called forth, one by one, the air thick with expectation, until it fell upon the tribe of Judah. Gasps erupted, hearts trembling further. Joshua pressed on, determined. Come forward, O Judah. The Lord is with us still, and we must confess. As the tribe stepped forth, one man hesitated, his countenance a mask of turmoil. It was Achan, the son of Carmi, whose heart harbored the secret sin that had prompted God's wrath. I have sinned against the Lord, he finally proclaimed, his voice breaking under the weight of his confession. I took of the accursed things, a beautiful coat from Shinar, and silver and gold hidden in my tent. A grief-stricken murmur swept through the crowd, hearts aching as they grasped the impact of one man's transgression. "You see, brethren," Joshua said gently, his voice heavy with wisdom. "Sin is a poison that spreads swiftly among us. Yet confessing and repenting restores our covenant with the Lord." Achan's face reflected despair, and in that moment, he bore the burden of his actions. "I was led by the lust of my eyes," he confessed. "I thought these treasures would bring me fortune, but instead, they have cost us our blessing." With sorrow veiling their faces and tears glimmering in the eyes of many, the community sought God's mercy. Joshua knelt before the altar, beseeching the Lord for forgiveness on behalf of the nation. "O God of our ancestors, hear our cry. Redeem us from the consequences of this sin, and cleanse us anew." A mighty wind stirred as the people prayed fervently, their voices rising in unison, an echo of desperation magnified by their unity in faith. As dusk approached, the heavy clouds began to part, revealing a glimmer of hope beneath. "Tomorrow, we shall arise anew," Joshua declared suddenly, a renewed fervor evident in his spirit. "For despite our transgressions, the Lord's promises remain steadfast. We shall conquer Ai. God has not forsaken us, our obedience will lead us forward. Prepare yourselves, for with repentance comes triumph." The Israelites stirred, emboldened by his words, a flicker of hope igniting in their hearts. As they returned to their tents that night, an unspoken unity drifted among them, and as sleep settled over the camp, whispers of divine encounters from the night before lingered, leading each heart to ponder the nature of God's sovereign plan. What redemptive purpose lay ahead? What glory awaited them in the battle that was to come? The atmosphere brimmed with divine mystery, leaving them all yearning to understand the fullness of God's ways. As dawn broke over the camp, the sky painted in hues of gold and rose, a renewed spirit filled the air. Joshua, steadfast in his faith, roused the people with a clarion call. "Arise, O Israel! For the Lord has shown mercy, and with his forgiveness, we are called to conquer." The Israelites, their hearts emboldened by the Lord's grace and the shared weight of confession, prepared to face Ai once more. With every footfall, they echoed the legacy of Jericho, an unwavering testament to the faithfulness of God. The memory of their recent trials lingered, yet now they marched forth with the wisdom of repentance, a newfound strength coursing through their veins. "Let us remember our covenant with the Lord," Joshua proclaimed, leading them unto the battle lines. "Each tribe stand firm, armed not just with weapons of war, but with hearts devoted to the Almighty." Their spirits rose like a flame, flickering brightly against the dark shadows of doubt and despair that had threatened to engulf them. As they approached the outskirts of Ai, Israel gathered for prayer, seeking God's voice in the din of their battle preparations. They formed a circle, lifting their hands and hearts, beseeching the Almighty. "O Lord, guide our steps." They cried in unison, their voices mingling with the morning breeze as they pressed in fervently. Amidst the gathering, Rahab, now a daughter of Israel, stood with her family, bearing witness to the transformation God had wrought in her life. Her heart echoed with anticipation, knowing her loyalty to the God of Israel was now part of the greater narrative. She whispered a prayer, surrendering her past as she embraced the promise of the future. "Lord, may the scarlet thread of my faith be a symbol of hope for generations to come," she thought, reflecting on the profound depth of God's redemptive work. Under Joshua's guidance, the Israelites strategized. This time they would not be overconfident but would seek wisdom in their approach. "We shall draw them out, feigning weakness," Joshua declared, fortifying their spirits with divine counsel. "And when the men of Ai pursue us, the strength of our God shall bring forth victory." With renewed resolve, they carried out the plan. Some warriors feigned flight, drawing the inhabitants of Ai into pursuit, while others hid within the city's brush, waiting quietly for the command. And as the ambush unfurled, a hush fell over the land, an echo of faith built upon lessons learned from past trials. As the men of Ai rushed into the fray, believing victory was certain, Joshua raised his spear toward heaven, and in that pivotal moment, a heavenly strength surged forward. "Now!" he cried, unleashing the ambush upon the unsuspecting city. Fire erupted against the city walls, a judgment from God upon their pride and wickedness, the smoke billowed, and a mighty sound reverberated through the valley as the Israelites charged forth. Victory belonged to the Lord, and through faith and obedience, the spoils of Ai fell to the hands of God's people. The cries of triumph echoed, proclaiming, "For the Lord has fought for us." As the dust settled over the land, the people gathered to recount the goodness of the Lord. Joshua stood among them once more, his countenance resolute. "Let these moments of victory be woven into our stories," he urged, "not merely as proud warriors but as humble servants of the Most High." And Rahab, enveloped in this newly birthed hope, grasped the hand of her family, the scarlet cord vibrant in the light of their deliverance. She understood then that God's faithfulness was greater than mere battles won or lost but extended far into the eternal promise of redemption. The Israelites embraced their victory, yet they also committed themselves anew to holiness and the path forward, pledging to keep their covenant alive. A vibrant reminder arose: the cycle of faith, failure, and redemption bore fruit as they pressed deeper into the promised land, and so, the narrative of Rahab and the people of Israel became entwined within the legacy of faith, a testimony echoing through generations. From the heart of Jericho's fall to the triumph over Ai, the tapestry of God's divine purpose continued, each thread telling a story of mercy, strength, and unwavering faith. Let this conclusion instill in our hearts the longing for God's sovereign plan, for He is faithful to fulfill His promises. Trust in Him, friends. For it is through grace that our stories, too, are being woven into His greater narrative. If this powerful account of faith and redemption has blessed you, do not miss an opportunity. It is now time to subscribe immediately to our channel to stay connected with God's Word and future powerful biblical stories. Leave a like now to help spread God's truth and messages through the algorithm so that more lives can be transformed. Comment below on your spiritual thoughts and reflections from this journey, and share how this biblical story has impacted your faith, and share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's message of hope and His truth today. Don't wait even one more second to become part of this movement to reach more souls for Christ. The stories told through God's grace hold the power to change lives. Let us share them together.